They're doubtful that the city will be able to remove all those people in downtown Seattle.
Many people who are homeless have already said they're not going to go to a big shelter. In the meantime, businesses are telling us they are suffering, and many have also said they're worried that we could be headed for the same problems Seattle has already experienced.
My name is Brian Martin Hall, and I am not just from Seattle. I was raised in Ballard, specifically. And we're in Soto, south of the stadiums, which I guess is about 7 miles from my childhood home, maybe 8 on the outside. I've spent the last at least 6 years down here in Soto. This is my second RV. I had a smaller one. My original vehicle for a brief moment when I first landed was a van, a Ford van. I was a few months in that before I got my first RV. I'm not really stuck here. I haven't really been stuck here for as long as I've owned this one, and even before that. Most of the last 8 years, I've been a pedicabber. For the right person, it is an outstanding job. At its best, it was the best. It's the most fun I've ever had making money in my entire life. The best I've ever felt about making money as well, too. Largely what you're looking at out here on the streets, including myself, which I'm in one of the better positions out here, you know. There are a lot of people that are very envious of what I have right here, even though a lot of people couldn't even imagine, you know, living like this. But I'm a big fish in a small pond at the moment. But anyways, we are represented largely by a group of people that live at such a low level that it gets desperate and it's hard. And I can tell you that a healthy person being forced to move into a shanty or a tent or spend a couple of years of their life living in cubby holes of some sort, and you will start talking to yourself. You know what I mean? You'll start behaving in ways that are going to make people around you feel like there's something wrong with you upstairs. And fortunately, it's a correctable problem, but I'm just saying this hard life can make people crazy.
It was a lot worse a little while ago. It's a little bit cleaned up. There's still a few tents down here, but this was all lined with tents, and both those blocks were just a couple months ago. You know, it changes. You know, it's like I said, the city will come along and move, or for one reason or another they'll move, but they just move to a different spot. But I was telling people, man, this is going to change. This is only going to get worse. You know.
Do you think the city's getting worse?
Oh, for the homeless thing? Yeah, dramatically worse. You're just not seeing it because you can hide it, you know?
Can you explain that? Like, how would they hide it?
Well, because they're down here and not up there. You have to come down here to meet them. How you doing, guys? The camera will touch a few people the wrong way, as long as we're not like pointing it directly at somebody in filming. Catching them on the side is going to be fine. But yeah, so I was actually parked right about where that van is, and that looks an awfully a lot like my old van. But none of the tents and stuff like that. So at various times you could come down here. It wasn't long ago that the entire block was full of tents and wood shanties and stuff like that. So every now and then, especially if it gets too dirty, too unsanitary, that's probably what brings them. The city will bring a crew in, and they'll at minimum clean it up, or sometimes they will just move a whole section of people out.
And where will they move them?
Oh, they won't move them anywhere. They just make them leave, and so they'll go find another spot. And so that's what happens. The city has not been doing that as much as they were doing pre-COVID. In fact, quite a bit less. And for a while, they didn't do any of it. And I think the only real good excuse for doing that would be the sanitation part, just when it gets out of hand. But you'll notice how clean that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to see a lot more of this. People are out here living in there, instead of just, like they've just changed the way they feel about it. So a lot of people are catching on that if we're clean and clean up after ourselves and that kind of stuff, then we won't get bothered, and it's true.
Yeah, that's what we've heard too. There's those people
Yeah.
that really are trying to keep it clean, trying to keep it sanitary.
Some do and some don't, right? Dopey, what's up? But, so on the homeless thing, this is what I'd like to say about it to people. Because for all the people out there that care about it and want to do something about the problem, there's three ways of addressing the homeless problem. The first way is the needs of the people that are living on the streets at the moment, which most of us can get behind doing something about, you know, helping them out. Then, of course, there's finding ways to make them not homeless anymore, you know, get them homes. That would be number two. But none of those address solving the problem or stopping it from happening. That's just treating a symptom, you know. Homelessness is a symptom of poverty. So is drug abuse and mental problems, you know. This is an economic problem. This is generational poverty out here. You will find well over 90% of the people that live on the streets, if you go back and talk to them about their lives, you will find out that there's a problem in there, and most of it is childhood problem, and most of it is poverty, you know. When people are poor, they're poorly educated, more poorly educated. They eat more unhealthy, you know what I mean? And I mean, death rates for people below the poverty line skyrocket. I mean, this is truly just an economic problem, too much poverty. And so when you get something like this, the Starbucks headquarters, just a couple blocks down from the homeless people living here, the reason those people are there is because he's there. And that is really true more than most people will realize.
What was Seattle like in like the 80s and 90s?
Oh man, it was hotbed for music. I mean, God, I was in a band with the owner of this shop, and we were signed to a record label, and we were playing big shows in the, you know, like the Coliseum here in the Paramount, and some of our friends were doing the same thing, and bands like Nirvana were starting to take off, Pearl Jam, and Alice in Chains. They were playing downtown, especially late 80s, 90s, stuff like that. There was so much happening, and God, it was fantastic. I mean, you might occasionally see somebody sleeping on a sidewalk, but it was rare and kind of shocking to see back then. Very rare. Certainly never a tent. It would just be somebody passed out in the doorway somewhere, and you go, okay, dude had too much to drink. And that was about the extent of it. No tent cities, nobody defecating on the sidewalk. You'd never see that back then. It started going sideways probably 6-7 years ago, maybe a little longer. That's when tents started appearing, and shootings and what have you. That started taking off about 7-8 years ago. And then when COVID hit and all these shops had to board up the windows and doors, and nobody was coming downtown anymore to work, it was weird. It was like a ghost town, and the only folks wandering around were people like me who have a job downtown, or homeless folks. So all the tourists were gone. There was no more football games, no baseball games. So the last year and a half has been weird. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, I really thought we would live down here the rest of our lives. I was so psyched for condo living. That just killed me. I thought, okay, well, so we gotta leave the city. It's not fun. It's not a fun place anymore. It's not a cool place. It used to be so cool. So it just, everything flipped, and it flipped hard in the last year and a half. And when we put our condo up for sale, our realtor sat us down and said, hey guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is gonna be hard to do. Right now, there is a glut of condos for sale. Everybody's trying to bail out. So we're talking last summer. And we said, okay, so what do we got to do? He goes, well, let's stage it, and we'll get somebody in here. We'll do a professional setup and take some great pictures, and you're going to want to price aggressively. And we said, okay. So we did all that, and it took us about 30 days to get an offer, which is the opposite of what's going on now with houses in the suburbs. There's bidding wars that occur before a house even gets listed. But it ended up being, our condo was the only one in Pioneer Square that sold last summer, the only one. And there were 15 others for sale, and they never moved.
Can you just describe what is happening here and what's happening to people?
Well, they've been here, at least in small numbers, for a long time. For many, many years, there's always been a few people that would hang out on these benches at night and pretty much sleep the night away here. All these tents is fairly new, but it just resulted from the fact that, they probably got kicked out of someplace else. The city came along, cleaned someplace up and moved them. Somebody came down here and threw down a tent. The police aren't gonna make them move. Most of the drugs originate out of 2 buildings down here. And like I said, the police know everything I know.
Why don't you think they do anything?
I can't answer that question. I have no idea. I really don't know for sure why they don't.
You think if the city tried, they could fix some of this up?
Jesus, I could find a reason to arrest a couple hundred people right now without moving too far. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe because they just can't make anything stick. Maybe because they arrest them, they throw them in jail and they're out. But that's not entirely true. Can't be true. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Yeah. Either the charges don't stick, or they just let them out of jail because they don't have room for them. And if it's a non-violent crime or something like that, that's what I mean. I mean, we just have too many people in jail in this country.
Do you feel like there's almost a sense of community?
Well, there is. That's something that most of these people are striving for, is to find some place to land with a few people to talk to, and because there's no solution to it, So, and right now on the path that we're on, it's only going to get worse, right? It can't get better the way we're going. Well, let's face it, our laws and our jails are not doing us any good. You know what I mean? They really aren't. And you're wasting a huge amount of resources putting these people in prison when there seems to be possibly a better way,
It still is technically illegal to camp on the street. And illegal means you can be arrested. But the police were told in no uncertain terms, do not hassle the homeless people anymore. You have to tolerate whatever it is they do up to a certain level. If there's violence or threat of violence, okay, you can maybe intervene. But even that's kind of gray area now too.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be on a federal level, because that's the piece that got pulled away back in the late 70s, early 80s. They started to redefine what mental health issues were worthy of attention, and what kind of public money would go towards housing them, and should people be able to be committed if they're having trouble and struggling and have no other support net. And all of that stuff was taken away. So, somebody who is exhibiting difficulty, keeping with reality or behaving or whatever, it doesn't matter. They've got no one to say, I think you need some help, and we can put you in here, and we've got some professionals. There's nothing there. So until that's kind of rebuilt, and until more low income or affordable housing is made available, there's no place for them to go. It's just overflowed. So I don't know. I think the country is going to have to look at it as a national thing and go, okay, we took away stuff about 50 years ago that they relied on. If we start to put it back, maybe you can start to get cities functioning again. But right now, it's weird, man.
This is where I stay, and I stayed for 2 years down here. There's a house that's burnt, and I've been in the criminal law system all my life. I've been in a state facility, and I haven't been to prison. I got a record, but I got no violence. I got 3 assaults, protecting the girls. People don't like homeless people. People get drunk and they come by here, they'll kick this shit over. There's a lot of idiots out here. Come by here, steal your stuff, I ain't got much. I got a bike, a tent. When I leave, I keep all my valuables with me.
You could show us some of your stuff and what it's used for, because people just pass by this and they just see a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. But you have uses for this stuff.
Yeah, I do.
We went to Malibu in Canada. I played basketball.
You can't burn fire. You can't have certain. I know in the mountains you can't have fires during the daytime. So I put this in to cook food for the girls.
So you use this as a little fire pit.
Yep, and I got some fire logs. I usually light the gas stove off. Yep. And that's my spot there. And this is the best I can do, man. It's just, hi, Stevie. Are you comfortable? Are you decent? Okay, I use 10-gallon bucket tubs for water, and I gotta get that down the street. And this is Stephanie right here. And my refrigerator's right here. I usually have ice in it. I got some food, yeah. I got hot dogs, meat. Cause I like to have whipping cream. I like to have cake. I like to have the nice things, But.
And how do you get your food typically?
Oh, I got EBT card, but I'll tell you this, a lot of this stuff I get, like these rugs, I go around and find them at these rich condos. People throw them away. I go around and I dumpster dive. I find all these bottles of soap and shampoo, condiments. You wouldn't believe the stuff I find, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Soaps. I got extra tent poles. I get tents from the church up here on Wednesdays. They give me laundry soap, and they give me clean masks. And you know, it's kind of rough. It's hard on me, but a lot of times people treat you different. If I go around with a backpack, I get treated different. People come up and say, "Hey man, I'm sorry you're homeless. Don't be sorry for me. I got Irish blood, bro. You know, don't be sorry for me. Sorry you're homeless." Well, that's just a word. You know, I'm happy. I'm gonna go home here soon. My baby brother. So, I got this beautiful girl right here, Stephanie. She's beautiful. She got blonde hair and blue eyes. Stephanie, say hi. She got a son in Chicago. Stephanie, Steph, say hi. Say hi. She just washed her hair. Yeah, she's right there. Yeah. So I'm just looking out for her. You know, I know her mom and dad in Commando Island. Her dad's always playing golf. So I promised him I'm gonna look out for her. But I know it's hot in there. It's hot in there, Stevie. Yeah. No, we just took off together, me and her. Yeah. Oh yeah, here. The Christian lady come by here.
Can you hold it up for me?
Yeah, this is, don't take this shelter. This belongs to a human being. Do not take these items surrounding the space. We are your neighbors. Please respect our boundaries and humanity.
Do people come and try to take these things or throw them
Oh
away?
man, people take stuff all the time. You got people that come through here that don't have. If you're cold at night and you're walking down the street and you see a sleeping bag, you know, it's cold, man. It happens all the time. You got nasty people downtown, man, that don't give a shit. Needles, you know what I mean? They don't give a shit. I'm gonna tell you this, but I ain't told too many people this, but I had lit candles off, and I had candles with a box of macadamia nuts with CDs, and it caught on fire. And it was so hot that it burnt, it melted the bungee cords on the top of my tent. So I don't like candles no more. But I woke up, yeah, the CDs were melted, yeah. I'm moving everything right now. But I got my bike tools and then my sleeping bags. It's hot, man. It's so hot in there. Feel how hot that is in there. It's hot, man. It's, you know?
Yeah, they get steamy.
Yeah, everything's dirty and dusty. I'm gonna take my tent and try to move it somewhere down the way, somewhere. I'm looking for a different spot to stay at. Extra tents. I got clean clothes right here. Sleeping bag. I got to keep everything bagged up.
How did you become homeless?
I made a choice. I made a choice. I become homeless because I ran away from a foster family. I ended up downtown. Came back to my family. My dad, my mom, I was in the hospital for a while. They brought me back. I followed the rules. I was okay. I had 2 foster brothers. One's a school teacher. My mother's a psychologist. My dad's a fireman. Very respectful people. But Shoreline. Yeah, I went back to school. I got my GED and locked up.
What'd you get locked up for?
All I knew, I mean, I've been locked up off and on. I mean, I go to jail. I got hot meal, place to lay down, my friends around me.
How do you feel the city handles this situation?
Not good. Not good. Go down to Occidental Park by the federal courthouse, where they have the federal courthouse. Go pissing. Look around in that park, man. They don't care. It should have helped the homeless a long time ago, man. It's nasty. It's a shame that all these people, and they're elderly. Some are elderly, walking around. They don't know what's going on, and it's just shameful, man. It's shameful that people are living like that.
You've been in Seattle a long time. Obviously, you have a really unique perspective about what it's like on the streets. Why do you think it's so bad in Seattle?
Downtown, I think it's the pills. and heroin. I got a Narcan set right over. I have a thing where if somebody ODs around me, I know where to plug them with the Narcan, either in the leg, in the butt, or get them in the neck. And a lot of heroin, man. You go to Capitol Hill, heroin, ODs. How many people have OD'd in the last year? Hundreds of people. And they associate crime with homelessness, dirtiness. People don't give a shit. Go to Capitol Hill, you got people laying out, don't care about nothing. And I'm not gonna live that way. I'm not gonna be that way.
Hi, my name is Carmen, and I'm 24, and transgender, Native American, born and raised on a reservation out in Lummi. Lummi is part of Bellingham, Washington. It's closer to the water. I lived with my dad, mostly going to school and just come home, get my fishing gear, and go out on the boat with my dad.
You say it was like a good time growing up?
Yeah, it was my family treated me well. They treated me with the care and love. But ever since heroin got in the way, it basically changed my whole childhood life.
And by what age were you using heroin regularly?
Well, when I first started, it was 12. It's really hard because it's like young age, and it's like I'm doing a bunch of drugs like meth, heroin, coke, and
When did you first start living on the streets?
I started living on the streets at 17 years old, Bellingham, Washington. Back then, it was just like, I was just like an ordinary kid. And then a few years later, it's like, I don't care about life anymore.
Do you still talk to your family a lot? Do you have contact with them?
My dad disowned me. He found hormone pills inside my room, and like, I forgot to put them in my drawer. I get my pills from the Max Clinic, which also treats HIV people.
And you did say you were HIV positive?
Yeah. I've been through a really tough life.
Do you know how you contracted HIV?
I contracted HIV through my uncle, through rape, basically. And I really don't want to talk about that one, so.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anywho, I know someday soon I'm gonna like get off drugs, get a job, but right now it takes time.
My name is Azzy Voven.
And how long have you been in Seattle?
This area, right? I lived in Renton for a little bit too, but like 25 years or so.
25 years. And where are you from originally?
Maine, Portland, Maine. It's way up northeast, kind of like the other corner of the country.
Perfect. How did you make your way over here?
Greyhound bus. I came on a Greyhound bus a couple of times. No, actually, drove out a couple of times and made my way out here to play music on the West Coast, you know, because when back east during those times, it was crazy. You know, you were looking for the ubiquitous or the unubiquitous record deal, and nobody ever got one. So, yeah, I went out to Hollywood in 1984, and I played in like the hair metal scene and all that, you know, the rainbow and the crazy stuff out there. It was fun. My life was completely different back then, and the city was really nice, though. I lived up here on Capitol Hill then, and it was so different. It was like a neighborhood, right? You know, it was like a real little neighborhood. It was nice. It was nice. I loved it. Things got weird. I ended up moving to Renton for some reason. I ended up staying there for a while, and then moved back here like 3 years ago. And that's another whole story in and of itself. So this is a weird story. I'm a hermaphrodite. I was born both sexes, right? Probably never heard of this kind of thing. In 1959, when I was born, that makes me 62, just had a birthday. That's all right. You know, they changed the flight path during CHOP to go directly above this.
Really?
Yep. And with Trump looking at us and stuff, man, you know my name. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. Some crazy shit going on all the time. People are fighting. It's violence. It's like horrible up here. It's dangerous. You don't come up here at night. So anyway, born both sexes, and back then in 1959, they made everybody a boy. If you had both parts, they just sewed up your girl parts, sent you off on your way. I know it sounds maybe too much information, but it's important to the story, because what can happen with somebody who's born like that is you can switch. Your body will just go and just switch over without any warning, and it's usually at hormonal times. I would never have gone surgery or hormones or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't, in fact. It just wasn't me. It's just I'm just not that way. You know, I had my lot in life. You know, I wasn't real happy. But you know, I never had to dress like a boy because I was a musician. I never had to, you know.
Hair metal seems perfect.
It was such a perfect like disguise, but it was a disguise for me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so everything switched over, and when it did, I lost my teaching job, I lost my house, and I ended up here homeless.
And can you paint us a picture for people who don't know what it's like out on the streets?
Oh gosh. All right, it's gotten worse, first of all. This is real dangerous up here now. It seems like it's still occupied, you know what I mean? If you're a girl, you don't want to be out here. The things that happened to me, I was alone. I was alone out here, and I developed some friends really quickly, and it's a good thing because they protected me. Honest to God, saved my life a couple of times. Got beat up, almost raped. I mean, just all kinds of shit. No place to stay. Nobody will let you. You know, I worked it out. Like, I was homeless in this neighborhood, right? And the people in this neighborhood over there in that 10th and Pine and everything, they're so sweet. So anyway, worked my way off the streets, sleeping on somebody's couch. Got a job doing security at the Comet over there. It's a club, right? You know? And then COVID hit. Pew! Lost my job, lost my house again. CHOP. At the end of CHOP, we were occupying the college. That's after the police came in here and swept out all these homeless people, like, just without any regard at all for their belongings or anything like that, man. It was just really cruel. I couldn't take it. I cried. I mean, I did an interview after that with the news. It was just horrible. Anyway, so I went up to the college, and I was the first person to put a tent up there. And then after a couple of months of that, they were like done with us, man. And they said, well, you, to me, can either go to a shelter, which we will get you permanent housing if you move into the shelter, or you can go to jail. So I went to the shelter, obviously. And they did get me permanent housing. It took 11 months in a homeless shelter. But the whole time, right, I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't sell drugs, I didn't sell my body, I never would. I played music, I busked, and that's how I survived. And people's kindness, you know, I'd fall asleep somewhere and I'd wake up and be money next to me, you know? And I made a lot of really good friends. I swore that I would help everybody that was here get a home, you know, a place to live. It's really important. It's one of the real basic human rights is to have a place to live, right? Health care, some food. I mean, I know it sounds socialistic, you know, I'm not really into that politics, really. I'm more, when we were here, we weren't even dealing with money. In fact, I spend money now when I get it, but we developed a whole barter system that's still actually going on. Listen, I'm gonna say some good things about Seattle because you know what, man, I've heard of cities in this country that make homelessness illegal and stick you in a FEMA camp or jail. So they don't do that here. That being said, the whole bloody country's not paying enough attention to the fact that there should not be people without a place to live in this country. You can tell how great a country is by the way it treats the least of its citizens, or what it calls, quote unquote, the least of its citizens. I mean, oh man. And you know what? Yeah, the drugs don't help the situation out here at all. You got people mixing, I like to call it black and blue, and the speed, I'd say, I don't know what percentage goes absolutely nuts from it. If you don't sleep and you don't drink water, you're gonna go crazy, right? For reals. Sleep is so important. I don't know, I was out here giving water when I moved back up here just a couple of months ago, right? 3 months ago, got my apartment. It's like a little luxury condo right up here in Capitol Hill. And HUD thing, you know, so I'm like set. But everybody else needs to be set, you know? I can't rest until that's done.
Why do you think so many people become homeless in this city?
That's a good question. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I was a runaway. But you have a way to change your life if you want to. I used to steal cars. And I don't want to live that life no more. I used to steal cars, man. And we used to take them to the Asians. The Lexus, the seats in the Lexus were about $3,000 each. We used to steal the cars, take them, pull them in the shop. It's all fun and games, man, when you're rolling the cars and stealing people's shit, but it ain't funny when they catch you. You know? And I don't want to live that life no more. I'm done with that. That's behind me. High-speed chases. I've died 3 times, man. I've been in a car, and the cop came running over across the intersection, came at the gun at me the whole time, and I'm sitting in the passenger side. When he took off down by, it was University, we hit this power box so hard that it took the front end off. And in my mind, I thought, oh, we're gonna die. We're gonna die, but we didn't. And he made the corner. I jumped out of the car, and I don't want to be in that world no more.
And for you, because you said, are you looking for housing? What is in your life? Like, what are your goals right now?
My goal is I'm waiting on REACH program to either get. They told me 2 years ago, either get a shared apartment with somebody or tiny houses. I'm waiting for them to get housing for Stephanie. She's got mental illness, schizophrenia, so I can go home to Coeur d'Alene. And the cops came here the other day, they said, what's your plan, Richard? Same fucking plan I had last year. I'm gonna go see my baby brother. I said, well, you're still here. Well, I'm gonna make it to Coeur d'Alene. And when she gets housing, because I'm not leaving her.
What is this place and who is it for? Well, this is a place for homeless people who are experiencing homelessness. You know, we're not trying to be selective. We want to be open to all come, all serve, but we also don't want people here, you know, that have massive problems and can't interact in community.
So you're attempting to build a community here.
It is a community, you know. The one common thread that exists for everybody here is that everybody's experiencing homelessness, you know, and that's a basis. The community itself runs the whole thing, right? The leadership is elected from the community. We're actually one of the few examples of living democracy that exists in the country. Every decision that affects this village is made by the village, by the people that live here. You know, you can't even say that, you know, at city, state, or county levels, right? You don't necessarily get, you know, to have input on decisions that are made. Here, people have input. So, you know, the tiny homes themselves are pretty basic. I can show you one here. I mean, it's just basically a box. They're 12 by 8, so.
Would you say, because you live in one of these,
Yeah.
And how are they comfortable? Do you like it? How do you feel?
It's comfortable. It's better than sleeping in a tent.
Have you experienced that?
I have.
And how did you come to find this community?
I was a member of Tent City 3, which is the oldest organized encampment in the country. And I'd heard talk about these tiny homes 2 or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. I came and started staying in Tiny House Village. So we've got more residences down here. That's my place, the messy one in down there with the birdhouses. We also have laundry facility. You know, people can sign up for a laundry shift. It's open 24 hours. We've got 3 bathrooms with shower, you know, that's available for everybody. Community kitchen, right, where people can fix their own food. Hey, Alan. You know, we got food that's shared, and then people also go get their own food. So, you know, the rules are pretty basic. No violence, no intimidation, no sexual harassment. You know, we do require people to participate.
Do you feel like this situation with a tiny house community just like this, do you feel like that's the future, or how do you feel
So
about this?
I think that this is the best interim solution that we have. Okay. And I say interim because this isn't housing. You know, it's great to have a community, but it's not housing. You know, no, the tiny house, you can't just go lock yourself away, right? You do have to interact with the community here. Some just want to get out as quickly as possible, and I get that, you know. But, you know, people heal at different rates. And really, that's what a community does, is help people heal.
My name is Seattleites.
Could you give us a description of your job as donation coordinator?
So donation coordinator, I intake every item. You know, I take inventory of what we have, what we need, and I wash whatever to reduce like germs, bed bugs, anything like that may come along with it. And I sort it, and then you know, I have specific times when people can come in. It's basically like a store, you know, and they can take whatever they need, and you know, they can always be like, hey, I need this, and I start looking free section on Craigslist, and If I find it, I don't, or I'll even go through everything we have and pull out a couple pieces that they may be looking for. But so far it's been limited to clothes, shoes, just basic clothing needs, bedding, and people who are moving in, and even some residents who are already here, they need like furniture or, we can't really have furniture. It's supposed to be like pieces that we can take down easily and everything, in case they do evict us.
Are they trying to do that?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
So even before I came here, they were trying to evict everybody. I honestly just think people are just like, what are they doing here? Because you can see people at Ivers and, they park there and they go to Gasworks and everything. And you can see them and they're like, pointing over there. Or they're curious enough to dare walk past us, and it's, people have this mindset of when you think about homeless people. And when I read articles and everything, and it's like, oh, the violent homeless encampment. What? The things they come up with, and it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, like when you go on 3rd Street, yes, there are homeless people. And yes, on 3rd Street, most of them are under the influence. And it's crazy because cops won't do anything about it. You can have someone smoking, a crack pipe, a couple feet away from a cop who's doing something else with somebody. And on 3rd Street, it's like there's no rules that apply. It's so close to Pike Street, Pike Place Market. It leaks into there, and it's a tourist destination, and everyone who comes to Seattle, it's like, okay, we have to go see the gun wall, the troll, Pike Place. It's just one of those things. And, I've seen the way, people act to homeless people. It is the way they carry themselves, the way they're acting, unfortunately, that is bringing negative attention upon them. But then there's other people who are, that don't have the means to help themselves, and they're looking at that person the same way they looked at the other person who's under the influence, acting all crazy, who's homeless,
And how do you think the city and the mayor and the city council handles the problem? How do you think they're doing?
They make a lot of empty promises. They have their current promise of making homes or housing solutions for people. They've only came up with 5 housing solutions. You're pushing them further and further out. They can't stay in the suburb areas because they're definitely going to get arrested.
You've talked about kind of the housing solutions and different things, because if you look at Nicholasville, it's a very unique thing now.
Oh, yeah.
And could you talk about how this could be a solution?
This is probably one of the best solutions because it's not run by an organization. It is homeless people running it for other homeless people. And we do have rules and everything, but that's basically the standards of any community living, even if you had a house. We have the shared kitchen and everything like that. Stealing, absolutely no stealing. Even if it's an egg, no stealing, or a cup of milk, you can always ask, and people are more than willing, even though we are all in the same situation, we are all willing to help each other out, which is another thing I really like about this community.
If it wasn't for Nicholasville, do you think you would have just been homeless?
Probably, yeah.
Building the community here and you guys getting new members and people coming in, do you find that this uplifts people from their previous situation?
We find that there's a period of adjustment. People go from just pure survival mode right? To having to interact with community again, and that's an adjustment, you know, and it's a difficult adjustment. What we believe in is everybody needs shelter. We try to provide people shelter. It's not our job to figure out people's problems, right? That's one of the biggest differences between us and what the city bureaucrats want. They want people who will figure out people's problems, right? The biggest problem is that there isn't enough housing. And they wonder why they have a problem. You know, this is my third go around with homelessness. The 2 times before, I was able to navigate the system and pull myself out. They've made that impossible. And the city's approach has been that. He's like, here's our solution. We're just gonna rapid rehouse people, which I've seen fail. Everybody that I know has taken it has failed.
And Sean, are you from Seattle originally? Where are you from?
I am. I was born right across the other end of this bridge.
How has Seattle changed in your lifetime?
A lot. We used to call it the little big town, right? Because it was the biggest city in the state, but it had a small town feel. It's gotten cosmopolitan, you know, metropolitan. You know, there isn't the old Northwest flavor anymore, you know.
What do you think changed that?
You know, there's a lot of things that changed that. There was the .coms, you know, and then we got Amazon and Microsoft and, you know, the tech industry. The effect is that the rent went up beyond anybody's being able to afford it. They're paying, you know, their tech guys, you know, 6-figure incomes, you know, coming right out of college. That's great. I applaud that, you know. However, if you're going to affect the economy of a city like that, then you need to take responsibility and make sure that the people that are here are taken care of as well.
Do you feel like anybody's taking responsibility?
Nobody's taking responsibility. And everybody's blaming each other.
What do you think that the non-homeless people of Seattle can do to help you guys?
To help us? Write the mayor's office, tell her to release the $800,000 that was promised us. Put pressure on the mayor. You know, at this point, we're waiting for the new election and hoping that we can get funding passed again next year. You know, but we're not going to go anywhere.
I'll see you in a little while, Will. You know, I can stick out this situation, but with a young child involved, it changes the game. And I have always saw myself at this point in my life being a homeowner, you know, just having my family and being established. But it's just circumstances. And that's what it is for a lot of people out here, is circumstance. Seattle is really beautiful, but, you know, things that have beauty can also hide ugliness. And unfortunately for Seattle, that has to be the homeless situation. You know, the person in the tent at this park is dealing with a whole nother different reality. And it's almost sad. There's not a lot of people who sympathize for the whole homeless situation, so.
But the thing is that's dangerous, and it's dangerous to have people out here that are mentally ill. You know, a lot of the people that were homeless out here are mentally ill. not just from drugs, they're mentally ill. And probably 70%, that's no kidding, because in the shelter it's definitely like that. And that's a low statistic. Something got to be done about that. We cannot let our mentally ill in this country go without housing. Just let them out in the streets to like drool and mumble to themselves. What the fuck is that all about? Sorry, I get really passionate. You know, we need compassion and we need love in this country. We need it bad. Because if we don't have it soon, I'm telling you what, it's gonna hit the fan. I can see it happening. The economy's gonna go down. Nobody's gonna be able to afford food. The riots are gonna start and it's gonna get insane. Let's change it now. All we have to do is be a little bit kinder to one another. That's it. That's all we have to do. That's not much to ask. I still have hope. And man, I should be jaded as hell. 62 years old and I'm a hopeful romantic, you know what I mean? But I know better, man. I know. I just know I can feel it in my bones if some shit's happening, right? Can you guys feel it too? We all feel it. There's a war. And some of us have been saying it's a spiritual war, for real. And I don't know, man. I just hope everybody's on the side of light for a change. Let's just get light with one another.
If you took all of these people off the street right now and found a place for them and emptied your streets of homeless people, it will not be long before it's full again. It will fill up very fast because we are producing more and more and more of this. And, you know, we fill up down here too, just like hotels do. There comes a point where the only reason why you won't have more people is because it's basically all the good parking spots are gone and all the good tanning spots are gone. We've come close to reaching that a few times in the last few years, you know what I mean? Where it's just like there's just no more room in somewhere for people in this neighborhood, you know? But how can you help? My answer is just like, you know, there's so many easy ways to help people out here, but in doing so, you're treating a symptom, and we're not doing anything about the problem. I'm not discouraging people from bringing down food or trying to find shelter for people or stuff like that, but you can't confuse helping people who need it desperately, which is a good thing. You can't confuse that with actually doing something about the problem itself.
You know?